Alrighty, testing, testing, testing. Is my mic coming through? We're about to find out. Awesome. Okay, well, let's just give it a second for the stream to populate here. Is any audio coming through? Can you guys hear me at all? Let's see. Testing, testing, testing. Here we go. Hello? Hello? Let's lower the threshold there. Alright, type in the chat if you can hear me. What's up, Richmond? Can you hear me? Awesome. Okay, cool. Let's get started. So, if you read the description on the stream, we are going to be doing a Cylero mission or a Mars mission. Basically the same planet. So the idea I had was to do a lander and a probe, and so I wanted to. Well, first we gotta get rid of the command pod because this is not going to be a manned mission, but we want to do like a rover and a lander combo for it. Okay, so starting the design process, what do we want to do? We want a rover, so we're going to need a rover body and chassis, and then we're going to need just the lander body itself in probably two separate parts. So we're going to want docking adapters for those as well. I think first thing we're going to want to do is build the lander, because we can design the rover around the lander once we've got that set up. Let's see. We've got Carolocks. Let's do a fuel tank. And then we can do kind of two styles of lander. We can have a lander where it actually touches down and drops it, or more of a sky crane design. So we've got something that hovers over the ground and then drops off the rover as it hovers and then flies off. So either way, we're going to need some engines on it. We're going to need some fuel adapters. We'll set them on the side. We'll do radial symmetry form first. Let's get 4, and then we will adjust their position and location. Swing them around so they're pointing down and in. Okay, so let's throw some engines on. We'll start with the Pixie and then adjust it as we need. Pixie's a little big, though. It's a little overpowered. Let's go with a pressure-fed engine. Performance analyzer on Cylero in atmosphere. Okay, so we're going to look at the engine performance at the right planet and under the right conditions, kind of between 10 and 0 kilometers. We've got pretty good thrust to weight ratio. We'll go with cone engines, because the cone nozzle actually works better in atmosphere. Which is kind of what we're focusing on for this. They'll burn a little bit out of atmosphere, maybe, but really the focus is going to be in atmosphere. I also don't think I want to adjust the size of the nozzles. We'll leave those as is. Let's do something less ugly than the simple texture. Okay, we'll do that texture, and then we should probably throw some stuff on top here. And I think once this is all set up, I'm going to flip it over so that the lander is upside down when it's mounted to the rocket. So a big thing in the testing phase is going to be making sure that orientation is correct, because that'll really screw with controlling it. Okay, so let's do some solar panels, some batteries, some gyroscopes, all the basic stuff that you're going to need. Let's start with some solar panels. Don't really need the extending ones for this guy. We'll do 4 of these, radially symmetric. We'll add another fuel tank to cover up the command ship and then shrink it down. Okay. And then let's see, we can throw on, probably not going to want to use a docking adapter for this part. We'll want a docking adapter on the others. Actually, we may not want docking adapters at all, because once it separates from the craft, we're not trying to reconnect this lander. The only reason we'd want to use docking adapters is if we wanted to later on reconnect. And since I don't think that's the plan, I think we'll just leave it as is. Also, I want to adjust the color on this paint. I don't like that super bright white. Bring it to like a duller gray, not as painful on the eyes. Okay, so we've got kind of the base of our lander right here. Let's go ahead and throw landing legs on it. Just, I want to have them on there as an option, even if we don't go with a like touchdown lander. Radial symmetry 4 times. They probably don't need to be that crazy big, so we can make them smaller. But I definitely want to make sure we've got clearance for the Rover, because the Rover is going to sit underneath this guy right in here in the pocket. Okay, so now we can build the detachment system for the Rover. I would like to use a side detacher for it. I think that would look better. And we'll use that fuel tank. Use the fuel tank here. We're going to want to edit the size and shape of this fuel tank a lot, because we're not going to have a round Rover, obviously. So let's go ahead. Let's make it 1/2 deep and 1 wide and square it off. 1.5, square it off, and 2 long. So let's start there with the shape. Doesn't need any fuel. Oh, that's the other thing. Let's set these guys to methalox, which will reduce the weight here. We've still got a 1 starting thrust to weight ratio of 1.09. And that's adjusted for Cylero, right? So if we go to Drew, yeah, that's adjusted for the gravity of Cylero. So these guys are going to need to be more powerful. Let's increase the size first. Bring it up 10%. 1.39, okay. How does that change when I add the Rover? Not too bad. We're also going to want to space this guy out. I just realized, because if we don't have a spacer between the separator, if we want to add any equipment to the Rover, we're not going to be able to. Also, we're probably going to want to adjust the connections here. And then rotate this guy around. And the reason I switched the connections on this side detacher is that I want the side detacher to stay on the landing probe. I don't want it to I want it to be on the lander probe, not on the Rover. So now the way it should work, and we'll test this to make sure, but the way it should work is that the Rover will drop away from the detacher and the whole thing will come apart, and this detacher will stay on the lander, not stay on the Rover. Okay, let's take these struts again. Actually, we're gonna drag this over here for a second. Add a command chip to this guy, because this has to be commanded separately. Set primary. Let's look at adjust pilot orientation. He should look like that. Okay, so then if I switch back, this is the tricky part. I want to make sure, because we're having multiple command chips, I want to make sure that the command chips are all in the right orientation. So let's adjust this guy. That guy's looking the right direction, and this guy should also be looking in the right direction. Yep, okay. So this will be our Rover chassis. I'm going to do the insulation texture. Okay. And then we're going to use these as suspension. Actually, we could put on some suspension, right? There is a piston part, this guy, that we could use for suspension for the wheels. Let's actually do it this way. Set that guy there. Mirror symmetry. Adjust its size. It needs to be pretty small for what we're doing here. And then let's grab the strut now. So we will attach the wheel to the base of the strut. If it'll rotate, Come on. Come on. Rotate. There we go. It doesn't need to be that long either, so we can shorten that. Bring that there. Bring that there. Okay, so that will be the start of our wheel suspension system. Let's go ahead and throw the Rover wheel on there. Those are a bit intense. We can probably make those... you can make them pretty small for this. And we don't want them to look like tractor tires, so let's do... landing gear? Yeah, let's do the landing gear for the wheel, and then the lunar spokes. That's probably the best. Let's also, while we're here, quickly change the color of the body. To a more golden look. It's a little better. That looks really weird though. Okay, that might just have to be how it is. Let's also adjust the color of these tires. Do like the gray for now. And then I'm going to take this guy and group him. And then is there a way to... Okay, so I can grab them as a group. Create a subassembly. Suspension system. Okay. Got that. Let's put this guy back where he belongs, right there. And then we can add another one. Duplicate it. Suspension system. There she is. Okay. Let's go back to the mirror. Make sure that we're doing this right here. $240. Looks about right. And up one click for both of these, like that. Okay, so that is a good start. Now that I'm looking at this, this looks kind of silly how big it is. Let's adjust the wheel size to 0.75. 0.75. That looks a little better. Really high center of gravity still. But one of the things we're going to do, we're not going to leave it like that. I want to add, or I want to make this an empty fuel tank. Because we're not going to have fuel, it's only going to be electric power, which we will provide with solar panels and a battery. So let's make a smaller fuel tank and slap it on the bottom. Much smaller. Make sure we've got this lined up. Actually, we could go there. Okay, and mirror symmetry that as well. So those will be our batteries. Adjust that a little better. There we go. There we go. We're going to make these batteries. Okay, so we've got two 36 kilogram weights. Where does that put our... Wrong button. Where does that put our center of mass? Okay. I would like the center of mass to be at least as high as the axles. So, what can we do? What can we do? Well, let's start by adjusting these and shifting their position to be lower. I'm realizing now we're not actually going to be able to get the axles to have the same center of mass, but we can definitely get it closer. And I also want to change the shape of these. Okay, now that center of mass bulb is getting in the way. There we go. Change the shape, change the shape. Okay, 1, 2. 1, 2. That looks better. Are they touching? No, they're not touching. Simple texture is probably fine for those battery packs, but I'm going to change the color of these. We'll do this silvery metal. And let's go ahead and make the wheels black. I think that looks better. Secondary color on these wheels, though, silver. I don't like the blue. I've never liked the blue. That look has always not been great for me. Okay, we've got that set up. Let's see if it'll attach nicely. It will, but I forgot to change the primary, so instead of changing it, it just clicked. There we go. Set that as the primary. Now we can drag the whole rover onto it if we want to. And it seems to be happy. Okay, so I'm going to take it off again. Set that as the primary still. I want to make sure that's still good. Okay, so let's start adding the technical stuff. We need solar panels for sure. That'll be kind of our primary. Really, that's the only concern we have is the solar panels for the rover. Since there's no like science we can do, that's going to be the biggest thing. So we can add solar panels to this guy, but let's make it a little creative while we're doing it. We could do a hinge rotator and rotate it 90 degrees. Let's also get rid of the base. And the grid size. While we're at it, we're going to tuck this guy right in there. Add a fuel tank to it. Make it way smaller first. Add empty. We don't want any fuel in this guy. Okay, rotate him around as well. And then attach the solar panel to him. Carefully, carefully, carefully. 180, there we go. Okay, now we can take this guy, move him down. Oh, wrong button. There we go. Move him down. Is he going to intersect the wheels? He is, so we'll make him longer and wider. Okay. Length, or wider and longer because of the orientation here. Is he touching the ground? Nope. So we can move him down a little lower. As long as he's above the bottom of the wheels, he should clear the ground. Like that. Let's take a look at this guy. Reshape him. So he's nice and square. Okay, so these will fold out on the ground, and we just need to adjust what slider they use. We'll use slider 2 for these, and we will mirror them. Like that. So we've got solar panels set up for the rover. Let's go ahead and set up our communication devices. So for communication devices, I like to use a piston, usually attached somewhere on a corner of the rover. We'll set him in the back right-hand corner for now. Make him a lot smaller, but with a long reach. So he sticks out like that. Kind of looks like an antenna. That's what I'm going for. Stick him in the ground and have him tucked away. So that will be our antenna, and he will use slider 1. We can add for funsies, let's add these little rotator guys. There should be a way to like turn them off basically. Speed 0, sound volume, range, free spin. Okay. That should be fine. We should do the... Yeah, we'll do just that. So it kind of adds a little look there. Also going to add headlights to this guy. We'll do the mirror. Whoa, not radial 6. We'll just do the mirror. Let's take a look at this. Hide the base probably. Square. Have them rotated down. Can also embed it into the front like that. Ooh, I like how that looks. That looks good. Spotlight angle 60 degrees. Increase the range a little bit. We could rotate them outwards a little bit, but I think I like them just facing straight on for now. Let's add something to the back here. We don't have anything going on the back. We could do some like smaller fuel tanks for aesthetics. Smaller than that. I kind of want to be able to fit 3 on. Delete. Let's take a look at this. We'll do the grooves, but we'll do more of them. And then let's add some beveled edges to the tops and bottoms. And group this guy. There we go. Now let's go to this 208, 209. Is that lined up perfectly? Ooh, that's pretty close. Mirror it. Go back to the movement tool so I can look here. The y-axis, those are all lined up. 209 and 145. Let's go -2. Negative 2.1. Negative 4.4. Negative 7.7. Okay. That looks pretty good. We could also click them in. Just a half click in for all of these. So they're overlapping a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we've got a lot of open area that we haven't used yet. We're going to obviously have the connector here, so I don't want to use all of it. But I do want to have something on the top to give it a little bit of an aesthetic look to it. We're also going to use the Tinker panel, and this is the only thing I'm going to use the Tinker panel for, is making these smaller, just so that they're not as annoying. I don't want to be able to see the command chip. There we go. Let's see. Let's copy that guy. Make him real small. Real small. Yeah. I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Zoom in here. I want to get the front face. There we go. Make this a little wider, not that wide, because then it clips. There we go. Now it's not clipping. Those are sticking out. We've got something that looks a little better here. I just really don't like how the insulation texture tiles. On the sides it looks pretty good, but on top here it looks way too smooth. So I'm going to change this. We're not going to use the insulation. Let's go with the panels for now. Yeah, it really does not hold up on the sides. Hexagonal looks good for that. We're going to change the color. Could do a sleek silver. We could do like a foil look still. All silver's fine. You know what? Let's not sweat the aesthetics of this too hard when we don't have an operational rocket yet. That will be sufficient. So we can... Oops. We can... I forgot to switch my command ship again. Go away. There's the guy. Set him as the primary command ship. Let's see if this still wants to connect nicely. It does. Perfect. And let's check to make sure that we've got clearance here. We do. Problem. These need to be rotated so that he's not facing directly into one of them. Okay, I think we're ready for our first test. So what I want to do on this first test is I want to make sure that this detaches properly, and then I want to make sure the wheels are in the right orientation. Because the biggest thing that I've always run into with the Rover wheels is they never want to be in the right orientation on the first time. So let's go ahead and run the test. The first thing it'll do, it'll detach, and then we can switch to the Rover from there, take control of it, and check the wheel orientation, see if there's anything we need to change. Alright, let's take a look. Minimize you. We've detached our Rover. Is he damaged? Actions. Take control. Oh, let's also test to make sure that the sliders work for our... I think it was slider 2. Nope. There we go. Hey, that's promising. Let's keep those down for now. Okay. Throttle works. Can confirm. Throttle works, but it's way too strong. That's going to be a problem. Let's dial back a little bit on the strength of those wheels, or it's going to destroy itself. And that's going to be a problem. Let's go to the wheels. Motor input, advanced wheel settings. Motor torque, 100. Just all the way down at the very bare minimum. Oh, and we need to make these guys turning. So we'll set them to 15. Also, detachment force 0. I just want it to drop. Okay. Now let's see if it works. Those are definitely going to be some big issues. I'm not going to get very far if it like smashes it into the ground as soon as we get there. There we go. That dropped a lot nicer. Let's take control of it. Looking good. Okay. And sure enough, the wheels are oriented wrong. So you'll see they are basically 90 degrees off from what they should be. They should be turning this way. Instead, they are turning this way, and that's a problem. It looks kind of cool, but it is a problem. That works, though. And the antenna works. So I like the look of the Rover. It's broken right now. So let's rotate those wheels. I think we'll rotate all the wheels 90 degrees, and that should fix it. We'll actually rotate the axle. Or no, we'll just rotate the tire. What if we set this to 0? Will that fix it? Yeah, that should fix it. I don't know why they decide to orient 90 degrees when you first load them up, and they orient... I don't know. That's consistently been an issue, is whenever you attach a wheel to a part, it's oriented 90 degrees from what it should be. Okay, take control. Hey, we can drive it around now. Let's deploy our guys there. Awesome. That looks really good. It is still way too fast. You're not going to want to throttle this thing more than like 5% or it will crash. Okay, we're good. Let's drive it around. Let's drive it around the base a little bit. Let's explore the base. If anyone chat has any suggestions of where I should drive, go ahead and just throw it in there. I'm all ears. It's got plenty of brake torque, that's for sure. Here, let's get it on the straightaway and then just gun it and see how quickly I can stop. We'll go right for the vehicle assembly building. 40, 45. pretty tight stopping distance. That's impressive. Too strong of a stopping distance, in my opinion. You got to drift it a little bit. Okay. Well, that is, I think, a successful test. Undo and exit. We're looking good there. Okay. Next up, let's work a little bit more on the lander probe. Go ahead and retract those. Our rover's looking good, but our lander could use some work now. First things first, we need a re-entry system. You know, one thing we could do, honestly, let's engineer this a little better. We don't want to burn our engines the whole descent. That's kind of an inefficient way of doing this, especially if we're trying to land on a planet that has an atmosphere. Just trying to burn your engines all the way down is kind of the slowest way to do it. Or not the slowest way, but just it's the least fuel efficient, right? Because we have an atmosphere, and that's going to induce drag on our craft. So we can, one, use the atmospheric drag just on the craft's body to slow us down. We could also throw on parachutes, which is going to greatly increase that. And we're going to want a heat shield, because I don't want to orbit it. I just want to smack it into the planet, and it's going to be going at orbital velocity, which means we need a heat shield to slow down. So if this guy's falling, he's going to be attached this way. Can we do something here? Let's copy this guy. Let's add a heat shield to his bottom, like that. Let's make him real thin, because he doesn't need to be very large. And then let's add a inner stage here. Make them the same size. We'll do the cage style. And then here's a little trick for building kind of complicated rockets like this. Because if I were to just try and throw this on now, there's so many connection points that it's going to want to try and find. So if I go to part connections, I'm going to turn off all the part connections and then only turn on this fuel tank's part connections. And now it's a lot easier to connect it. So we can go here, resize it so that it is exactly as tall as I need it to be. 1.7 meters seems to do the trick. We don't need any fuel here, so I'll turn that off altogether. Actually, I'm going to make this a little wider. Like that. So that the bottom of this pod here is wider than the top, so it should give a lot better coverage over the top of this. Because I don't want the landing legs or the solar panels to explode from the re-entry heat. We actually might want to make this wider. Because it's really... This is going to be pushing the heat tolerances of pretty much any part that's exposed. So I really want to make sure that they're sheltered. Let's do big parachute. Oh, and as soon as you do that little part connection trick, make sure they're all turned back on or you're not going to be able to attach parts again. Horizontal strike, chute size, nice and big. So it's going to fall under one parachute. Let's tuck him in a little bit. I don't like how obnoxiously that stands out. Kind of like that. We've got solar panels. Let's throw an antenna on this guy too, just for good measure. We'll do him right there. We'll make this guy a little bigger than the rover's antenna, like that. Let's also tuck him in a corner so he's out of the way of the parachute. We'll put him in this corner right here. And, oh, not what I wanted to do. Didn't want to pick him up. There we go. And tuck him down. Just like that. Perfect. Oh, I want to here's the other thing. So I want this to have an activation, or I want this to use slider 1. So I'm going to use slider 1 for all of the antennas, and slider 2 for any like other systems that need to be extended during the mission. Bump my microphone. But if I use slider 1 for this, this antenna on the rover is also on slider 1, so it's going to extend and hit the lander body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go first make that invisible so I can look in here. Select this guy. I want to have an activation stage for him. Solar panels, landing gear. We'll set it to activation group number 7. Oh, I just realized this guy's in the way. There we go. So number 7 is going to be Rover, because I don't want any of the Rover activation groups to trigger when it's still attached. 1, 2, 3, Rover. Make sure that that's on, Rover. And then the last thing I want to make sure is that all of our command ships share their activation groups. Replicate activation groups all. Because I think if you don't set this to all, I'm not 100% sure on this, but if you don't set it to all, then it doesn't like update it between the crafts and you have to like reset them. Nim Tim, yeah, I do remember you from some of the earlier streams. Nice to see you here again. Glad you're watching. And Peter K, are you using any mods? I am. I'm using, I don't think I've got any part mods enabled right now, but there are 2 mods that I know I'm running right now. The docking HUD system and the blender system. So one of these mods actually allows me to export SimpleRockets 2 objects into mesh files so that I can 3D print them. And then the docking HUD, it doesn't add any parts, but it does add a cool feature where basically all the docking ports have a camera, and then it creates this heads-up display a lot like the SpaceX Dragon heads-up display, and it shows all of your relative velocity vectors as you're moving in and trying to dock with other docking ports. So you can set a target, view from the docking port that you're viewing, target the docking port you want to dock to, and then it gets all of your relative velocity vectors so you can really like line up your dockings, which is super helpful. So if you play on PC, definitely download that mod. It's available on the website. It's free download. If you're on mobile, sorry, can't download it. Sucks to be you. That's just how it is. Let's unhide our stage separator. Okay, so this is the landing package, and I think it's finished for now. The lander does still look a little lame, but I don't really want to deal with it anymore right now, so we're just going to leave that as is. I'm trying to think what the best way to do this next part is. I think what we're going to do, let's create another command ship and set that as the primary, and then rotate this guy 90 degrees like that. So this is how the rocket, this is how this whole stage here is going to be oriented on the rocket. It's actually going to be upside down, mounted to the final stage here. And then we're going to have fuel tanks on this guy, obviously. So from here on out, we're just building the actual booster, the actual rocket. Let's make it not simple texture. Let's do channels. That's fine. Oh, disconnected. Get back on there. There we go. Gonna do another fuel tank, throw it on top, like that. Make it a little wider. There we go. Okay, so let's add the interstage next. And then let's see if this will connect nicely to the interstage. I can also make this a little shorter. Hey, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want it to look like. We're going to do the Soyuz style interstage for this as well, and then make it as small as possible. So I want to make the payload as compact as I can, because if I'm using extra volume, like if this interstage is like this, the fairings that I'm going to have to build are going to be longer, and that's going to add weight. So I want to shrink this down as much as I can. Do play a lot of KSP as I learned the complications of it, but now I'm considering play SimpleRockets too. Yeah, I I play both. I've actually been playing a lot of KSP recently in my downtime, and they're both great games. I have nothing against them, but Simple Rockets 2 has time and time again been my go-to game for a lot of different reasons. But I just think there's something about the degree of customization in Simple Rockets 2 that KSP doesn't have that really puts it above KSP in my mind. It's a lot more sandboxy. It's a lot more freeform. You can do a lot more with it. KSP is a lot more like Legos. It's like if KSP is Legos, then Simple Rockets 2 is CAD software. Auto resize. Is it going to auto resize? Why are these not auto resizing? Okay, so here are the fairings. And the last one, make sure it's the right width. And height. Okay. Let's actually make this fairing a little longer just to make sure we clear it. 2.5. Okay. That looks pretty good for our fairing. Now let's start looking at our engines for our upper stages. We'll throw a mage engine on to start, and then I want to do a performance analysis and see what kind of performance I'm getting. I also want to use Methalox for these guys. It'll keep the weight down. Okay, initial thrust weight ratio is 10. This gives us 4,000 meters per second, which is pretty good for a vacuum engine, but I think we can do better. We'll use a bell. 4,211, 4,356, but that takes our thrust to weight ratio. That doesn't change our thrust to weight ratio a whole lot. And this is our final stage where it takes us all the way out to Cylero. So having a low thrust to weight ratio is fine, because I can have a nice long burn for this guy. Okay, we'll do a beveled stage separation thing here. This is also only using a gas generator 1. We could do staged or full flow staged. We can also make this smaller. So a real small staged engine, we're still getting that 0.1 thrust to weight ratio. If we were to switch to gas generator 1, 49.2. 1.75, 306. 8 minutes of burn time, but it gives us an extra 300. I don't know. This is where like the real engineering comes into play, right? We're looking at the performance output, the performance analyzer over here on the screen. I want to get a good balance of basically the number that I'm most looking for is my delta V. Let's make sure I'm looking at the right stages as well. Let's take this guy down to the bottom. Okay, so stage 1, 3,315 meters per second. And then these engines ignite. That inner stage will go off first. Right? No, wrong inner stage. This guy comes off. No. Hold on. I'm going to make this guy invisible real quick, just to make sure that I'm looking at the right things here. Staging. Okay, so the mage engine burns, and then where's my inner stage? This guy needs to go first. Yep. Then that guy. This guy is absolute last, because that's the very last thing. So the rover deployment has to be the last stage. Fairing base can go probably before this engine even ignites. That stages. That'll go first. Okay, so that should do it. Yeah, that should do it. Okay, next up, let's add some more detail to our upper stage here. I like to add little fuel tank rings around my upper stage engines. It's just like a design detail that I've seen in some other rockets, and I don't know, I like it. I don't really know why I like it so much, but I think it makes the rockets look cooler and a little bit more realistic. So I do it pretty consistently. Let's see, 270, so we'll connect it there. Rotate it around 90 degrees and then move it into position from here. The reason I connect things to the side of a fuel tank before I put them on the bottom is there is no angle snap on the bottom of the fuel tanks. So if you want something to be nice and symmetric and have angle snaps, start by putting it on the side of the fuel tank and then use the translation tool to put it where you actually want it. And then just be careful what you actually attach it to, because now this little fuel tank here is not attached to this, it's attached to the main fuel tank here. So that can cause some issues if you're not careful, but it should be fine for what we're doing. 2 clicks there, 2 clicks there. This will be a good one for the insulation. Like that. There we go. That looks good. Okay. See, okay. I just did it there, but that's what I'm talking about, where it's not attached to the right thing. And now that's causing issues, so I have to undo. Sergio Rodriguez, Maxium, hello. Thank you guys for joining the stream. Appreciate it. Okay, let's take a look here. I want to resize this guy again. 1, 2, 1. Nope. 1. There we go. And then let's attach guys on the end. Shoot, that's what I didn't want to do. Undo. I'm going to bevel the ends of these guys. Like that. Same on the other side, but we'll make that the beveled edge. And then radial symmetry. 5, 6. Okay, that looks pretty good. Let's do... Actually, let's get rid of the radial symmetry real quick. And change this to 1.1. Six. Boom. See, now they corner pretty well. Those beveled edges kind of meet and merge really nice on the corner. That looks pretty good overall. And then let's just make sure that there's a fuel line connecting all these parts, so that our engine actually is able to use all the fuel that we just added here. No. I might have to manually do this. Okay, now they're all using methalox. No. Methalox, there we go. And okay, so it's showing up all tanks in set, so it knows that, yeah, it's seeing those fuel tanks as connected, so that's what we want. Okay, that looks pretty good for our next stage. Now we're going to do the same thing I said before. We're going to change our part connections so that everything will only connect to that part. And I'm going to add another inner stage, just like that. We'll make it 2 meters wide and then shift it up like that. Perfect. Okay, and then down a little bit. We'll do the vents texture for this guy. And then add another big fuel tank to the bottom. So this next big fuel tank is our primary stage. We'll make this 20. meters long. We'll do another beveled edge for this guy at the bottom, same as we did before for the last stage, but we're going to change up the way we place engines around it. So there'll be smaller bells. There we go. Like that. Smaller bells and more, lot bigger thrust. So I think that top one uses a staged engine, so we'll stick with the staged engines and keep it kind of consistent. But we'll change the bell and the throat settings to be more optimized for in-atmosphere. I'm going to do that same building technique where I attach it to the side of the tank so I get a nice symmetry with it. Zoom in on our guy here. Come on, come on, come on, camera, cooperate. Cooperate. There we go. Okay, tuck him in, and do we need 6? Let's do 4. 4 engines per tank, and we're basically going to have 2 more of these tanks on the sides, kind of like the Falcon Heavy or the Delta IV designs. Like that. Too big. Too big. Let's just go with the Mage engine for now. Hi there, been waiting to get an SR2, mostly because my PC can't handle vanilla KSP, let alone a lot of parts mods, so SR runs a lot better. The vehicle designer UI isn't helping me so far. That's interesting. I actually like SimpleRockets 2, SimpleRockets 2's vehicle designer a lot better than KSP's. It takes a little getting used to, just like moving around the space takes a little bit, and if you're used to KSP, then it's probably going to be weird for you. But it's a lot more flexible in my opinion. I think it's actually a lot more refined than the KSP system. Okay, we've got our staged engines set up. Double click. Oh, yeah. I always forget the double click technique. That just, I don't know why I don't resort to that sooner. But yeah, thanks for that, Maxium. Definitely can double click, and I definitely just don't because I'm stupid. Tuck these guys in like that. We'll do the delta. We'll decrease our throttle length quite a bit, or nozzle length. Increase the nozzle throat size. There we go, 40 and 85%. And what's our thrust to weight ratio right now for stage 1? 2.32. Okay, so we can bring down our nozzle throat size quite a bit. Let's do 70. So that gives us a thrust to weight ratio of 1.63. That's a little better. So I want a lower thrust to weight ratio for this one stage that I'm designing because I'm going to group this whole section right here and do 2 more on the sides. So it's going to have a lot of thrust. Let's see, methyl locks for these guys as well. Good. Okay, and then let's add for decor. I use air intakes for decor primarily. And what it does is it kind of creates a shroud for my engines. Let's see. Uh, 24. That looks pretty good. Let's increase the width here a little bit. There we go. Okay. Also, I want to do some accent colors for these. That guy there. And then let's duplicate that. Throw him there. Okay, I like those accent colors a little better. Oh, while we're on accent colors, I hate these engine bells with the blue, so we'll switch that so they're silver as well. And while I'm on it, let's take this guy, make the inner stage and the fairings visible so I can see through it. Okay, that all looks pretty good, really polished system. Many functions are available on the fly in KSP. Take a bunch of clicking here. Yeah, so it's kind of what I was going back to earlier. KSP is like Legos, and SimpleRockets 2 is like CAD software. So one of the trade-offs with a simplified building system is simplified controls. And if you do a more complex building system, that's going to come with more complex controls. There's always going to be an exchange between those two things. You can't have a simple build system with or you can't have a complex build system with lots of flexibility and simple controls. It's not as effective. So the way they have it designed is probably the best medium that you're going to get between them. You're really not going to see a whole lot of flexibility beyond that, right? Let's do a softer white. There we go. Looking good so far. Looking good so far. Okay, so that's our rocket as it stands. You know, one thing I still don't really like about this fairing is it seems a little weird shaped, you know? And I'm big on aesthetics. I want to make sure this looks right. So let's take this guy and let's make him wider. Oh, I forgot this. Why is the auto resize not working here? Okay, so that's a bug. That's definitely a bug that we've discovered right here. Is when I drag this part out right here, right? If I make this wider or skinnier, the nose cone and the base here should also adjust their width to match it, instead of having to do them both individually. So that's, I don't know why it's not doing it. It's definitely not supposed to do that. I'm also going to go back on what I said, because I said part of the reason that I designed it that way was to have like a short fairing, as short of a fairing as possible, but now I'm saying I'm making that fairing longer for aesthetics, and you know what? It's a game, and I will do what I want, because I think aesthetics are important, and I don't want to fly an ugly rocket ship. It's like now, obviously, our payload is way smaller than our fairing, but that's okay. Let's make sure our staging is right next before we do anything else. Looks like an acorn. Yeah, I've made a couple other rockets where the fairing looks like an acorn, and I just, for some reason, I hate how that looks. I hate it. So I'll do just about anything I can to make it not look like that. Alright, here's the other big complaint I have with SimpleRockets 2, is the auto staging is super broken. So I'm going to turn that off, because it just never works. Okay, so let's add a stage to the very bottom of this guy. We're going to put all of our mage engines on this stage. And then we've got our pixie engines here. So we've got our mage engines. And then from there, we have, where's our other engine? This guy, this mage engine. And this inner stage needs to go here. And this guy needs to go all the way down to here. So that's better. That's the first step. So first we have these engines burn, and then we separate and ignite this engine. And then when that engine burns, the next thing that should happen... Actually, between these, the fairing should separate beforehand, because this should get us into orbit, or at least get us out of the atmosphere, but not quite into orbit. Then the fairing separates. Then this guy takes over. Okay. I'm not going to touch these upper ones. I'll do one more check before we finish, because this is all jacked up. This guy needs to be at the very top, and then this guy needs to be kind of before all of these guys, and then that needs to be there. Okay, let's do our big side stages next, because that's going to be the priority. Side inner stage, 90 degrees. Ooh, before I do that, I want to group those parts together like that. and connect them to the side inner stage. Now we can move that side inner stage till these are in line where we need them to be. I think that lines them up. Let's see, line those up. I think those are lined up properly. And then let's mirror them. Okay, looking good, looking good. Let's look at our staging editor. We don't want those to separate right away, so let's move those up. Okay, 7,919 meters per second of delta V. That's pretty good. Is that enough? Is that enough to get all the way to Cylero? You know what? I have a handy dandy I have a handy dandy spreadsheet that actually lets me calculate mission delta V requirements, and I'm going to use that. Sergio Rodriguez says, hey, what is the last button at the left? I think it's a drill in the build panel. Oh, so this guy right here, this button down here in the bottom left-hand corner of my toolbar, that's a mod that lets me export any design that I make. It lets me export it basically as a CAD file that I can 3D print, which is super useful if I want to make a model of something, or send it to someone, or just like take the design that I've made, make it into a mesh, and then export that as a mesh. And you can do a lot with meshes. You could throw it into software, or you could, like what most people do is 3D print them, which is super duper cool, because it actually lets you make physical copies of your creations. I'm still trying to find, where is, I have a spreadsheet that has all the math done for where is this guy? Shared with me. No. Oh, wait, I think I found it. Here we go. This guy. This is the guy we want right here. Let's see. So, Cylero on the new map. Transfer cost from Drew is, let's see. Transfer cost from Drew orbit is 1,819 meters per second. That is good to know. So that means that my upper stage is going to need enough delta V to circularize my orbit and get us 1,819 meters per second of delta V for the actual home and transfer orbit, which I think, as it stands, the design should get us there. Let's add, real quick, some nose cones for aerodynamics. Like that. We'll do the channels. There we go. Alright, I think. I do not know, but I think we're ready to go for this guy. Add some fuel in those. Let's check our staging one more time, make sure everything fires at the right time. So these engines go, then these separate. Fairing comes off, so we've got 4,569 meters per second of delta V, which should be enough to get us into orbit. We have a thrust to weight ratio of 2.28, so that is all good. Moving on to stage 2, we have a thrust weight ratio of 0.4, which is good. Those burn for a while. Then let's see. This is where this section of the build keeps getting messed up. That should interstage first, so we'll move that down past the engines. This has to go before the engines. That goes after. That goes after that. Okay, that should be it. That should be ready. I don't think anything else needs to change here. I don't think. I've been wrong about this before. Oh, I remember there was one more thing I wanted to take a look at, and that was making sure that these should have a fuel transfer. So the general idea is to have the outer tanks pouring their fuel into the inner tank here, so that these two side boosters will run out of fuel first, and the middle stage keeps burning all the way into orbit. And then I also wanted to add these rings here for aesthetic purposes mostly. Did that mess up the staging at all? I don't think so. Everything checks out. Let's look through it one more time. Burns, split, fairing, stage separation, engine ignition, payload separation, heat shield separation, parachutes, landing engines, landing legs, side interstage. Okay. I think that's going to do it. I think that's going to do it for us. We don't have any RCS on it. I don't know if I want to use RCS. Oh. You know what I don't have that I need to add? I remembered what I'm forgetting. I knew there was something. We don't have gyroscopes on any of this. On the lander stage, at least. And that's going to be a big issue. So let me turn part connections on again. Let's make that gyroscope smaller because it's way too big. There we go. 340 degrees. And 4-way rotation. And embed it into the craft like that. And shift it down a little bit. Not that far down. That should do. Okay, so we've got gyroscopes on that. We'll probably also want gyroscopes on my upper stage here. So we'll do 360 degrees. Oh, you know what? I just realized that's not going to look great as it stands. Let's make this guy smaller. Yeah, like that small. So each of these outputs 3, and then let's grab this guy, put him there, embed him the same distance as that other one, like that, and make him 4-way symmetric. And then make sure these guys are lined up. Let's do half steps. I kind of want to get them right between those lines there. Perfect. Okay, that should do. Let's also, real quick, make these a little darker. So that'll stand out a little bit more. Nice. Game looks beautiful on my computer. Thank you. Yeah, this is a slightly better machine than what I've been running in the past. Some of my early videos were done just on my laptop, which sucked a lot, and you could tell. This is actually a pretty powerful machine, and SimpleRockets 2 isn't super resource intensive, unlike other space sim games. KSP. And that makes it a lot smoother running, just in general, which I really appreciate. I think that's one of the biggest perks to SimpleRockets 2. Oh, let's do that trick again with the part connections because I'm getting hung up here. There we go. Let's also lower these guys a little bit. Dang it. So I added one more ring there. Again, mostly for aesthetics. Not a whole lot to it other than aesthetics. Just really want to make sure that my rockets look pretty. I think that's an important part of the design process. Two. Okay. Okay. I think we're ready to go. One more stage separation check just to make sure nothing got screwed up there, because it always seems to want to screw it up. Landing legs. Okay, everything looks golden except that's wrong. Why is this 0? Why is that 0? What? That shouldn't be 0. That disconnects. What the heck? Why is that 0? How do you install mods? Well, I made a video on how to install mods. That video is actually outdated. They changed the system a little bit. Basically, you go to the website and you click download, and then you go into your game files. So if you I really should redo that video. It's a little more complicated, but you have to go into the game files, and then in the game files, there's a file called mods. Then you download the mod file, slap it in that folder, and then there's a mod manager in the main menu, and you can do that. Originally, it was actually a lot smoother system before. You basically downloaded the mod file, and then you ran it, and it would automatically download it to the right place, and then go from there. It was a lot smoother, a lot more streamlined system, but they've changed it since then. So let's see, interstage. Okay, that all should work. So I don't know what the issue there is. Oh, shoot, I keep saying everything's good and then remembering that I've forgotten one critical detail. Undo. I definitely need to make sure that my command ships are all facing the right way, because that has screwed me in the past. Okay, so my pilot here is looking that way. That's good. And then let's take a look at the lander. If I can. There we go, command ship. Adjust pilot orientation there. That's correct. He should be facing backwards. Okay, so those are working properly. I will slap this guy in there real quick. Actually, you know what? I can probably tuck him out. Just peek him out, just like that. Set up our gyroscopes on the outside of this guy, so we've got enough rotational power. All right, I think we're ready for a test flight. I think I need to stop procrastinating and just do it. Let's see if it works. That cough man, careful with the 19 flu. Pedro, what are you doing on my live stream? What are you doing? What are you doing here? You do not need to be watching my live stream. You're far too important to be watching this. I'm not sick. I just had to clear my throat. Don't need to panic about that. Let's relaunch from an actual launch pad properly. All right, here we go. Test flight. This is the big deal. Let's see if all of that work paid off. Throttle up. I'm going to put my flight view over here. Just enjoying life. That's good to hear. And we have liftoff. I'm going to lock my heading. Everything's looking good so far. I'll start my roll maneuver. Actually, hide that nav ring for a second. There we go. Start pitching over. Let's see. I don't need to look at my velocity information. I really just need to be looking at orbit information and performance. Let's shift over some more. Go ahead and throttle down. Let's double check to make sure that these are draining properly. And they are. That's good to see. just going to gravity turn into orbit. Should work. Shouldn't have any issues here. I'm going to try and keep my thrust to weight ratio down around 2. And I'm going to do that just by slowly throttling down the whole time. So we're at 2.02. As soon as that gets to like 2.1, I'll throttle down again. And then, what's our altitude above sea level? 36. Okay, apoapsis is getting a little high. I'm actually going to keep my thrust to weight ratio even lower now. Let's just keep it right at about 1 while we do our gravity burn here. Or gravity turn. Not gravity burn. Let's check our fuel tanks. 20%, 70%. Excellent. Actually going to pitch over now. And we are out of the atmosphere. Oh! Oh, shit. Shit. Apologize for the profanity, but I forgot how long those engines would burn. And wasn't paying attention to my staging. Let's go back and fix that real quick. I need the fairing to come off before that. Where is it? Which one is it? This guy. Okay. That was not the smoothest thing for me to have done there. And I don't want to talk about it. Let's just pretend that did not happen. Because that was really embarrassing on my part. Let's just go ahead and launch again. Pretend that didn't happen. Okay. Start my turn. Oop, overturned. Too much. Turn back. Should really use my nav ball for this. Okay, we'll start my gravity turn a little early. That last gravity turn, I don't think I started early enough, and I didn't keep my thrust to weight ratio down low enough. Okay, above sea level. As soon as that green arrow lines up, we're going to go ahead and follow my prograde vector. That. Okay, follow prograde. Shouldn't have to touch that anymore. Now all we're doing now is monitoring my flight view profile and making sure everything happens when it should. And keeping that thrust to weight ratio low. I'm actually going to drop it down to 1.5. Pretend what didn't happen. Nothing happened. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Switch to orbital reference. So we'll begin pitching over a lot more now. Okay, everything's looking good. We'll go ahead and fast forward a little bit. Okay, we should be... What is our air density? 2 grams. Coming up on 0 grams. Okay, out of the atmosphere. Fairing separation, nice and clean, looking good. Thrust to weight ratio is getting a little aggressive. I'm going to go ahead and pitch down till we're horizontal. Time to apoapsis is looking good. We've got plenty of fuel in these stages to get into orbit. Plenty of fuel. Go ahead and align. I'm going to kind of fly it manually here for a second just to adjust it onto the heading. Okay, that looks good. We can make the nav ball go away now. Okay, those fuel tanks are done. Oh, shoot, I forgot to click on the other fuel tanks. Okay, now those fuel tanks are done. That's fine. That didn't cost us a whole lot of delta V, and we're already almost in orbit. Let's look at our map view. Looking good. Okay, almost in orbit now. 20 seconds to apoapse. Full throttle. Bring back the throttle just a little bit. I don't want to get too far ahead of my apoapse. Ooh, am I going to have enough fuel to do it in one stage? I think we will. I think we're just going to have enough here. Yep. 2%, 1%. We are in orbit with... How much delta V do we have left? 42 meters per second of delta V. That is just enough to circularize my orbit. Lock and warp to burn node. We'll go ahead and burn the last of my fuel here. And we are circularized. Almost. 1 centimeter per second. There we go. Okay, so we have a circularized orbit, nice and neat. Throttled down. We can go ahead and separate our main booster. So that guy is now drifting away, which is looking good. We've got our next stage already activated, and we have... How much delta V do we have? Stage delta V, 74 meters per second. That can't be right. We have more than 74 meters per second of delta V, I think. Huh, okay. Well, I don't know why it's saying 74 meters per second. We should have like 3,000 something. We have more than enough delta V to get to Cylero here. Which, here's our target right there. Beautiful. We'll go ahead and set that as the target. Go back to our rocket. Now we need to be... Let me check my spreadsheet again. What's our... From Drew, 47.57 degrees ahead of the starting planet. So about a quarter of a rotation ahead of Drew, which right now we're a little over 90 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and time warp. That's about 90 degrees right there. A little past 90, probably 80. Ooh, this is always the part I mess up a little bit. If you're relatively close, it usually doesn't matter. I think that's about 60. Okay, I think that's 45. Let's warp a little bit more. Okay, I think that's 45. Zoom all the way back in, all the way back in, all the way back in. Ultra plays the 4th generation. Astounding. This game has controller support. LOL. It actually does. I actually use, it's not all the time, but I actually use a joystick. Like if I'm flying planes or stuff, or if I want to fly manually, I have a little joystick that I'll use, and I'll map all the things to the joystick, and it's a lot of fun to play with a controller. Mouse and keyboard works most of the time. I feel like mouse and keyboard works better for space missions, but I like playing with the controller. Okay, let's pause it while we set up our maneuver node. Now I want to burn at midnight. So if you think about this as like a day, right about here on my orbit is midnight. Zoom way out so I can see what I'm doing. And we're going to go ahead and do our burn. 1,000. Here we go. About 1,800 meters per second for... Oh, I think we just had it and missed it. I'm going to turn down the sensitivity for this next part because this is all the fine-tuning. Back. Oh, there it is. Right there. So we've got our encounter right here. That's our encounter, and then this is our new orbit. And that is a 1,839 meters per second burn, and the perfect burn is 1,819. So we're really close to an optimal burn here, which is good. Hi. Okay, so let's lock that in. Lock that in. What's our burn time? 8 minutes. 1,839 meters per second. Is this going to give us issues? I don't think it will. 8 minutes is a long burn time, and my only fear is that we start the burn too early. And actually, if you start the burn too early, right? Let's go back to the map view here. Like, this is our burn node, so an 8-minute burn means we're going to start the burn 4 minutes before we hit that node, and and then it kind of averages out so that the burn would have started here. So 4 minutes in our orbit might be like right here in the orbit. And if we start our burn 4 minutes, we could potentially lower our apoaps so it drops back into the atmosphere. 124.7 kilometers is pretty high for apoaps though, so I think we're fine. But it's saying that it's not recommended, so we'll probably have to do a correction burn after this. Which makes me want to actually bring this down a little bit. And then we'll save some delta V here. And then in our correction burn, we can adjust from there. Say, lock it in. Craft is set to auto burn. Yeah, so here we go. 4 minutes ahead of our orbit starts right here. So that could potentially, or that will drop our apoaps. Or I guess in this case, that'll drop our periapsis potentially below the atmosphere. Are you playing RSS? No, I'm not. Oh, hold on. Oh, so it wasn't kidding when it said 74 meters per second at delta V. Because I just ran out of fuel. What's the issue here? Why am I out of fuel? That fuel tank is full. Oops. Alright, I'm going to let you guys type in the chat what you think I did wrong here. This is the main tank right here. That's our main fuel tank. That's our fuel type. That little extension fuel tank is not set to methalox. I knew we did something wrong here. So we were only burning fuel out of this very bottom fuel tank. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end the flight. I'm going to save and exit. Because right now, the way the solar system is, we still have our transfer window set up properly. So I'm going to save and exit. We're going to very quickly methalox, Carolox, methalox. I don't know why those decided not to update. Now they work. Okay. Yeah, it was basically a fuel connection problem. That's what it boiled down to. Okay. That's 2 strikes. Two failed launches already. We're going to do this one more time. And it's going to work this time, I swear. Throttle up. Lock. Orbit. Launch. It's going to work this time, guys. We're gonna really just speed through this launch process as quickly as possible. Do a much harder turnover here. Burn progrades. We're gonna do a lot more shallow launch profile. Can hardly even see the rocket. We're launching at night. Keep my thrust-to-weight ratio down. Keep the thrust-to-weight ratio down. Make that go away for now. So that guy's at 100. That guy's at 0. Okay. Really try to expedite this process. We're just gonna get it into orbit. Get it into orbit nice and quick. Nice and quick. Bring down my thrust. Keep it around 2. Down my thrust again. Okay. That's at 0. Now we separate those stages. We're in orbit. We are a little high on our apoapsis, but that's fine. Because we're going to be conserving fuel from here on out and just burning nicely into orbit. That's the plan. Actually, I'm going to pause. We'll do a burn node here. Five, 6, 7, 8, 9. 2,000. Still got enough. We actually saved a little bit of fuel with this launch profile. It wasn't perfect, but we're going to have a little higher apoapsis, and we save some fuel. Okay. Engines ignition. By the way, thanks for the airplane video. You really helped me. Glad you liked it. Glad it helped. That is why I make those tutorial videos, is to help people who are kind of struggling with some of the game mechanics. I'm glad that it was able to do that for you. Time warp ahead. 2, 1. Good enough. Okay, so we still have 3% fuel. We are in orbit. I'm going to go ahead and burn that 3% just to... Whoa, too far. Just to circularize here. Lock and go. Okay, delete that burn maneuver. Throttle down, separate, and we should still be in our proper orientation. So if I, oops, did not mean to create that. If I take a look at Drew like this, right about there. Okay, let's do this again real quick. Not messing around here. We should still be in our transfer window. Not that much time has passed. Right about there. A little higher, a little higher. Oh, there's our... There it is. Right there. So that is our... That is our window right there. Again, we're burning on the night side of the planet, so I'm just going to look at it from the orbit view, because you can't really see anything from this view, unfortunately. And we're definitely going to time warp for this, because this is a long burn. We have 6 minutes more to go. 5 minutes. 4 minutes left. That kept our periapsis nice and out of the atmosphere, which would have been a huge issue, but it wasn't. And our burn accuracy is now saying it's high, which is good. I'm going to slow it down here at 11 seconds left on the burn. So we should be getting pretty close here to finishing this initial burn. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that is our first burn. I think we overshot a little bit, which is fine. I'm going to turn the sensitivity down again. We still have 2,000 meters per second of delta V, which is so much delta V. That is so much fuel, guys. We are golden here. And we are on a escape trajectory. We've got 97% battery, which is looking good. Still got plenty of fuel here. So as soon as I escape Drew's sphere of influence, that's when I'm going to create our correction burn node. So we're flying out here. Goodbye, Drew. And we are outside of the sphere of influence. So I'm going to pause the game, zoom in, and right in front of my craft. No, not that far. Not that far, though. 5.8 minutes. Okay, that's pretty good. Let's zoom out here. Target Cylero. Move to the burn node. Okay, okay. Wait for that thing to turn green. That's our guy, right there. And I want a collision course. I specifically want to collide with it. So you'll see that that orbit line's getting farther. That is a collision course. So if I hit that at exactly 50 meters per second, real precise shot here, real precise, but if I get 50 meters per second correction burn here, burn time 7 seconds, that should put us on a collision course with Cylero. And if we need to, we've got so much delta V, we can do another correction burn if we need to when we're closer to the target. find it really hard making nodes to Mars because in RSS, if I don't make it super precise, correction burn costs so much delta V. Yeah, that is probably the biggest challenge with playing in RSS is you do not have a lot of room to make mistakes. Okay, here we go. We've got our collision course. Let's add one more burn node here. And time warp. So I'm going to use that next burn node to make any last minute corrections that I need to. Actually, what it's going to do is it's going to pause the game when my craft gets to that burn node, which is what I want. So then I can take a better look. You see here, I don't know. Are we in its sphere of influence right now? We're in its sphere of influence as of there. So I want to add a burn node here. And I want to get that collision. Because it's not showing up that we're going to collide now. Oh. Oh, hold on. That's weird. Enter SOI. Exit SOI. There we go. Ooh. So now, oh, that's weird. It was right on the money here, and now it's saying that I'm not on the money anymore. Okay, I think that gets us back on a intercept course here. Yeah, so we do intercept it if we have it set up like that. Okay, so now let's actually get the collision we want. Right there. Lock it. Skip ahead to that burn. So we've kind of wasted a little bit of fuel with that whole shenanigan. I don't know what the deal was there, but now we should be on target. 27 seconds. Mantuez, gotta go now, but it was a really fun stream. If only partially. Cheers. Cheers, man. Glad you were able to stop by at all. Always a pleasure. I'll see you on the next one. Okay. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1 second. And that's our collision course. So let's go to Cylero here. Let's zoom in on him. Where are we hitting it? We're hitting it daylight side. You know, that's about as perfect of a collision as we could get. Right there. So what I'm going to do, how much more delta V do I have left? I've got 1200. Let's slow down a little bit, because we're just going to waste that fuel if we don't use it. Drop our speed by about 1,000 meters per second. Just to increase our survival odds here. I don't think it'll be an issue, but you never know. We'll go ahead and time warp. This doesn't have to be precise, because it doesn't change our impact a whole lot. There we go. Okay. Let's time warp. We are going 1,500, 1,700 meters per second. I'm going to switch to surface velocity reference frame now, because we're doing a landing maneuver. I don't want to be looking at my orbital velocity so much. I want to be looking at my surface velocity. Also going to lock retrograde. Oh. Nope, that was right. That was right the first time. Yep. I'm going to burn the rest of the fuel here. Okay. take control. And point retrograde. Here we go, final approach. Before we do anything else, I have learned my lesson. Quick save. Okay, now we are on final approach. I'm going to skip through the stages here real quick. Okay. So burn through our heat shield, and then once we're down through the hot part of the atmosphere, deploy the parachute, then cut the parachute, light the engines, start the landing gear, and decelerate down to a nice and gentle landing on the surface. That's the plan. We'll see if it works. 0 grams per cubic meter air density, so we haven't hit atmosphere yet. Not yet. We should be hitting it here pretty soon. Yep. Let's monitor our heat shield, see how it's doing. Okay. We're warming up. 1.2 grams. We are 8,000 meters over. Deploy my parachute. 4,000 meters. We're still slowing down. That parachute is really bringing us down. And yep, our parts survived. Our temperatures are going down for the parts. I don't think anything's broken. Oh! I spoke too soon. Some of the wheels exploded. You know what? There is a reason. There's a reason for the quick save. I was right to do it. Let's go back and redo that, but I'm going to change the timing a little bit here. Okay, I'm going to activate that parachute a lot earlier. Lock retrograde. Okay. And I'm not going to activate the stage separation quite yet. I'm going to keep that heat shield a little longer. Oh, hold on. Pause it. Those wheels fell off earlier. So I don't know what happened there that caused the wheels to fall off. But those didn't fall off in the descent. And that failed. Okay, so if those didn't fall off in the descent, let's go back to what we did before. Because I guess there's no save in that. Lock retrograde. 5. Okay. Surface ASL. Okay. We're dropping. 8,000. 7. I'm gonna separate it as soon as we hit 7,000 meters. Okay. Parachute deployed. Oh, you know what? Ooh, I don't think we've got the deceleration we need for this. Nope. So what can we do to save this mission? Because our descent's too steep. We're not decelerating long enough. We need to spend more time in the atmosphere. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to activate this up here. Let's just have the parachute going the whole time, because that should help a little bit with our descent profile. And lock retrograde early. Yep, that helps a lot. We're already decelerating. Okay, that should do it. Did I watch the stacking of the Starship? No, I didn't watch the stacking. I saw the photos afterwards, so I know that it's stacked, but I didn't watch the stacking itself. Okay. I'm going to light my engines early here. Really try to decelerate. Really try to decelerate. Really try to... I'm not going to... You know what, guys? I don't think this mission's gonna work. I think we're gonna have to start over again. Yeah, that is as much decelerating power as I can get. But you know what? I didn't save soon enough. I didn't quick save soon enough, because I could have salvaged this. If I had set my... Basically, this angle right here is too steep. Yeah, shouldn't have such a steep descent. This needs to be a lot shallower, because then I'm spending more time in the atmosphere. The heat shield and parachutes can work a lot longer, and then the thrusters work at the last second. And unfortunately, that means this mission is scrapped. So that is our third fail. We are going to undo, because everything else worked. Everything else should work fine. You know, all of our systems are working properly. It's just that last bit right there where our descent angle was too steep. I want to check one thing. Maybe we could adjust before we do our next mission. Stage 1, Stage 4, Stage 8. That's not right. Let me look at my staging real quick. That's not right. I don't know why that's that way. I am going to increase the throttle, or the throat size a little bit there while we're at it. And then I wanted to see what was causing that wheel to break. Is it colliding with something? Because the front wheels on my Rover are broken. I think that might have just been a glitch, though. Okay. Alright, here we go, guys. Speed running the mission from the start. One more time. Let's see if we can get this right. We're already lined up properly. Just going to go ahead and launch. Flight view, and here we go. Throttle down, throttle down, throttle down. Keep it at 2. Throttling down. Okay, everything's looking good so far. We should be getting pretty close to these engines expiring. Yep. Just down to the last bit of fuel here. Those stages separate and we continue burning. Okay, 162. Pause. We'll do a planned orbital insertion burn. So you saw it fall off during stage separation. That might have been it. It's very possible it came off during a stage sep. That's kind of where things tend to go wrong on spacecrafts anyway, is when there's a stage separation. Let's see if it's on there now. You know, I can't see it here. We'll have to look at it once we're on the daylight side of the planet. Okay, we are in orbit. Let's go ahead and time warp so we can see what's going on. We can inspect our spacecraft. How many wheels do I have? You know what? I can't see. I'm gonna... How many wheels do we have? How many wheels? Count them for me. Seeing 2. Yep. Oh, wait. Wait, hold on. Are all the wheels broken at this point? Why is this... Oh, yeah. Yep, that's the issue. We'll go ahead and trigger this. We're going to call this mission a fail early. Yeah, those are not... Look at the pistons here. They're sideways. That is all sorts of not right. I can't even click on them. Oh, there we go. Yep. Okay. This is becoming a struggle. But you know what? This is part of the process. This is kind of how this game works. It's a lot of troubleshooting. Let's hide these guys and let's do some rocket surgery, right? So there's a couple of things I can do off the top of my head that should help the rover not break like that, and that's actually lengthen these guys out a bit. Because by lengthening them out, increasing the tolerances, increasing the clearance here, decreases the likelihood that these shatter. Oh, also, that's a problem. You see what I see in here? Minimum torque for 100 is too much. I totally agree. Another thing that I was just thinking about with having that minimum torque is, you know what? Those rover wheels are actually being activated with the throttle, and I wonder if the torque they're producing is throwing it off. That's got to be it. Also, they're intersecting the nose cones here, so that's probably doing something. I would imagine that's doing something too. Wow, how did this get so jacked up all of a sudden? Weird. Okay, so let's fix this. This needs to be fixed before anything else. That's good. That's good, that's good. Okay, those are fixed mostly, but they're still intersecting the wheel, or the nozzles there. So what we can do is scoot that out, but that also means that we need to increase the length of this fairing again so that it clears them. Okay. Okay, I think that fixes it. I think that fixes it. We're gonna do a test launch again. And we're gonna launch on the daylight side to see if that changes anything. So I'm gonna time warp here. Okay. Go ahead, launch. Turn us. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Too much, too much. We're just gonna lock prograde right off the bat. Turn our rocket so it's facing the right orientation. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. Okay. We are golden-ish. We are golden-ish. Thrust to weight ratio is too high. Go ahead and bring back the thrust big time, or the throttle big time. And we are at 60,000. Go ahead and deploy our fairings. Been good so far. Separate those side fuel tanks. And continue our orbital insertion burn. Gonna go ahead and let apoapsis get up to 150 kilometers while we fly. Narrow Llama, hello. Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you. Okay, where are our wheels now? They are broken for sure. They are on the wrong side of the craft. How is that? Is it part clipping? Is that what it is? Those wheels are super busted. Ah, this guys, this frustrates me. End flight, undo and exit. So something in the collision boxes is screwing up. It might be that I'm time warping. That 10x time warp might be having an effect on it, because it's not touching anything anymore. It's all self-contained in there. These should clear it when it separates. I don't know why it's freaking out. The only thing I can posit at this point is that because I'm using the 10x time warp, it's causing the physics to clip it. So what I'm going to do, we're going to change our slow-mo and fast-forward speeds to 5. Because when you fast forward, the physics frames kind of screw up, and so things can clip. Basically, if the wheel part and the inner stage or whatever it's colliding with aren't updating properly, sometimes the wheels can clip through, and it has issues. A bunch of the time, it has issues. So let's try to avoid time warping this time. That might help. Mr. Foxy, I just realized the initials of the name spell ISS. Did you do that on purpose? I actually didn't. I was just trying to come up with something creative, and I will admit that the name I came up with was not very creative. So the background to why I chose Integrated Space Systems is if you play SimpleRockets, you would know that when you start a new game, it asks you to name your company. And so I was trying to come up with a made-up fictional space company name, and Integrated Space Systems was the one I settled on. So when I created my account on the SimpleRockets 2 website, I used the name Integrated Space Systems. And this was before I even considered doing YouTube. So when I did start the YouTube channel, I already had an account called Integrated Space Systems for SimpleRockets, and I thought, you know what, let's keep it that. And it kind of stuck. I don't actually like the name Integrated Space Systems as a YouTube channel name. I think it's kind of clunky, and I don't know, it's kind of an artifact of the account I set up, and not really what I was going for initially. So it's kind of weird how that came to be. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and dethrottle. Actually, while we're here, let's pause and let's zoom in on my guy here. Where are my wheels? Why? Oh God, why are you doing that? Stop that. Oh man, that is super weird. It should not. There's no reason for it to be doing that. I'm not gonna deal with this anymore. You know, the rover's broken. It's the game's fault. I'm not gonna try and fix that at this point. It's not worth it. Okay, we're a little high on our apoapsis, but that's okay. Gonna go ahead, create our burn maneuver. Gotta decrease the sensitivity. You personally like it? Well, I'm glad you like it. You know, that's really what matters. I don't hate it. Hate's the wrong word. I don't know. If I had a chance to redo it, I would do something different. But that's just me. Gonna adjust my orbits here. Okay. Lock. Start the burn. encase the rover in a different fairing like the NASA missions. Here's the thing, I don't think that would fix it. I don't think adding more parts down there or inside that payload is going to solve it. Because my fear is that it is clipping through the parts, which it's not supposed to be doing. And adding more parts for it to clip through is not going to fix that problem, unfortunately. Coming around daylight side, here we go. Let's see if it fixed itself. Oh. Yeah, look at that. That's not right. That I'm gonna hazard a guess that that's not supposed to be happening that way. It might be the piston. It might be the piston. Because it's jiggling like that, and I wonder if the suspension... You know what? Alright. One more redesign attempt, and then we're going to fly the mission for real, and that's going to be it. It's either going to succeed or fail, and that's going to be it. One more shot at this. I'm going to pull this whole thing off, too, just so I can get a better look at what I'm doing. Center on the rover. Okay. I'm going to just... I've got to ungroup these two, don't I? Ungroup. Is it not letting me... Not letting me attach it? Why is it not letting me attach it? That's not right. Man, these things are super broken. And I don't know what the issue is here at this point. I can't. Okay, so when in doubt, you can just directly connect them. So now this is connected to that, and now I can take this guy and just physically put him on the rover itself. Just do it the hard way. And then mirror it. Yep. Mirror it like that. And tuck it in. We're going to do the same for this guy. I'm going to ungroup him. Click and drag that guy off. Throw that guy away. Not going to let me attach it for some reason. I don't know why. I'm going to grab the tip and connect it to the surface of the rover body. Please let me mirror it. Oh, I might not have been grabbing the right thing. Hold on. There we go. Okay, now I just need to make sure that these guys are lined up. So I'm going to double check that the X, Y, and Z coordinates line up. Because their Y coordinates should line up. This one is 21.18, 21.16. Let's do 21.18. And he's pretty close to the edge. I think both wheels clear. Okay. Yeah, we're going to do it without suspension and see if that fixes it. Problem, the solar panels here are now extending below the wheels. So what we're going to have to do, and we're going to have to be careful about this, is to make sure that the solar panels are extended outwards before we deploy the rover, because that's going to be an issue. Also, I want to invert the inputs on these solar panels. I remember from before it was having issues because, if I remember correctly, when I pulled the slider 2, which extends the solar panels, when I pulled it down, it brought them out, and I want to push it up and bring them out. So I'm going to invert that. Put the fairings back. Like that. Okay. Real quick, run through the staging. Main engine's light. Fairing. Side separation. Stage separation. payload separation, heat shield separation, parachute, engines ignite, landing legs fold down, side interstage releases the rover. Everything is correct. Everything is correct. Everything should work properly this time. I hope. I do not know what the problem is. If this doesn't work, I don't know what the issue is. Throttle up. Ignite. Lock our trajectory. Rotate our craft to align with the angle there. Align, align, align. I said align. There we go. Okay, go ahead and pitch over. Start that maneuver. Alright, so far so good. So far so good. We will see if this correction works. Why don't you put the hinges of the solar panels in an activation group? They are in an activation group. So I have everything on the rover set to activation group 7, including the wheels. So the wheels shouldn't be spinning. Let's actually double check that. Double check that that activation group is working properly. Yeah, it is. Okay, that's off, which means that activation group is working as designed. Go ahead and align with our orbital velocity. Throttle down, throttle down, throttle down. Okay. And wait, I think... Let's double check. Let's double check and make sure that our plan is working. Hey, look at that. Our wheels are attached. So this is working properly. Finally, so it was the suspension that was causing a physics glitch and getting them clipped between the other parts. That was the error. So now that that's fixed, we shouldn't be encountering issues like that anymore. Almost out of fuel on these side stages here. Go ahead and point us towards the horizon. Separate the fairings. Fairings are gone. Level us out here. Fuel is almost depleted. Side engines are separated. Whoop, 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 whoop. Autopilot's kind of getting all funky for a second there. That's not correct. And we'll throttle down and just do a nice slow burn for a while. I don't know why the autopilot's all out of sorts. It's having trouble getting right on our target. That's not a huge issue for now. It's like swinging around trying to correct. You know what? Let's kill the engine. We'll just do a burn node like we did before. Get us the rest of the way so we don't have to deal with that. 82 and 178. Right there. Right there. Lock. Burn. Okay, everything's looking good there. Two, one. Yeah, the landing legs and springs are a little buggy. Dynamic parts tend to have issues. So when I say dynamic, I mean anything that can move and interacts with physics. That's what causes issues with the physics simulation the most, which kind of makes sense. Static things like fuel tanks don't have as many issues, but anything that can like spin around or move or adjust itself tends to be a little buggy. But I think fuck me. Look at whoop whoop whoop. Yeah. So the reason this is freaking out right now is a physics glitch. those parts are clipping. 2 of the wheels fell off. Or no, 2 of the wheels are back in. Maybe they'll clip back together. Is there a cheat I can use to like reset this? Hold on. Okay, 3 of the wheels are back in. It's just this one other wheel on the corner here is outside of the fairing for some. Now 2 of them are outside the fairing. What is going on? Is Pedro still on the live stream? Pedro, can you see this? Can you see what you've done here? You've broken the game. Only one wheel is in the correct position. This wheel right here on the corner is in the correct position. This one is clipped down into the engine bell for some reason. This one, totally not connected to the Rover. Same for this guy. Let's see, I just time warped. Yeah, this isn't gonna work, guys. I don't know about you. I don't think the rocket's controllable right now. Alright, so we got a couple options here. We could wait and let it try and fix itself, right? We could try and adjust the interstage again, because you know that interstage is awfully close to the wheels. I wonder if the way we have the interstage set up clips the wheels just right. That might be the issue, right? Like if the interstage is just clipping the wheel mesh, like on the corner. Oh, hey, there's our issue. I figured it out. You want to see what the issue is? The wheels are clipping the engines this time, and that's causing problems. Let's embed the engines down a little bit. Let's get them out of the way. And then let's redo this whole process of turning off the part connections, and then turning on the part connections, and then connecting it, and then turning everything back on, then connecting that. Big breath. Big breath. Okay, we can do this. At this point, I'm barely even concerned with getting into orbit. I just want to get up there and test it, right? I just want to see why this is having so many issues. Which, you know what? I realize now, and I should have caught this sooner, the craft was pitching weirdly when it shouldn't have been. It was rotating weirdly when it shouldn't have been. I wonder if it's because those wheels were having issues. Oh, Maxim, you're totally right. You are totally right, dude. Screw this. Screw this trial and error thing. I'm just going to turn the collisions off for the interstage. That'll fix it right away. Tinker panel. This is not cheating, guys. This is fixing a broken game. That's different from cheating. Okay. Part collisions for the engines and that mesh, the interstage are set to never. That should fix it, right? Maxim, you're a genius. That's gotta fix it, right? If that doesn't fix it, I quit. I quit. I'm not gonna bother fixing it if that doesn't do it. Okay, we're up. No weird like rolls are being induced or anything, which is good. That's a good sign. Go ahead and throttle down right away. Okay, we're going to take this launch nice and slow, and if the wheels are working, this is it. This is the take that actually makes it out. So far, so good. Nice and steady launch profile. Throttle a little bit. good. Still looking good. I don't know what the status is on our wheels. I'm going to go ahead and lock prograde for the gravity turn. Now we're just going to gently rotate. Throttle down a little bit more. Gently rotate as we fall into orbit. Okay, we are at 100 kilometers apoapsis, coming up on leaving the atmosphere. So there go our fairings. Next up, we're going to jettison our rocket stages. Those are gone. And we are looking good. The craft isn't trying to roll. It's not trying to throw itself off. I think that fixed the clipping issue. I think. Time will tell, but I think that did it. We're just going to burn along the horizon nice and tight here. Alright, Maxium, moment of truth here. As soon as we get into orbit and on the daylight side where we can actually take a look and see if that fixed it, that'll be when we know if you're genius or not. Because until we've actually seen that the craft isn't broken, it could still be broken. Okay, orbital circularization burn planned. Okay. Alright, let's take a look. And I'm going to go ahead and separate stages. I think they're good. I'm trying to tell if one of them's like hung up on anything at this point. But I think all the wheels are touching where they're supposed to be touching. Alright, Maxium, if I had a gold medal to give you, I would give it to you now, because that seemed to solve the problem. You're a genius, dude. So we are all intact. I'm going to quick save more frequently now, because we've learned our lesson after that last debauched mission. We should still be on course. We should still have our correct window. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and take Cylero. Lock it as my target. Go back to my craft. Zoom in all the way. Let's focus on Drew. I don't need that anymore. Let's set up our burn node. Okay. Zoom way out. 1,830 I think was the magic number last time. So we're just going to go ahead and set it to that. Actually, we'll set it just shy of that because we were overshooting the last time. So if we do 1807, let's check it out. Okay, burn started. Let's time warp because this is going to take a minute. And we're doing 5 times acceleration instead of 10, so it's actually going to take longer than the last time. But we can be patient for a second. 5.6 minutes. Lorenzo, hello. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good time tonight. Thanks for joining us. We are hopefully on our last attempt at getting this mission to work here. I think this is the one that'll work. We've uncovered many issues in our previous attempts. We have problem solved a lot of various bugs that I didn't think we would have to problem solve. So this should be the one that takes us all the way. Almost there. Less than a minute to the end of the burn. I'm going to zoom out here. 24, 23, 10 seconds. Let's go ahead and stop. 4, 3, 2, 1. And the burn is over. Let's just go ahead and warp to the exit sphere of influence. Right there. Okay, now where are we? We do not have an intercept. We're very close to an intercept, though. That's our intercept right there. Oop, too much. Okay. Too sensitive. Okay, that should do it. Lock and burn. Lorenzo, do you prefer SimpleRockets 2 or KSP? I think I prefer SimpleRockets 2. There are pros and cons to both games. I like them for different reasons, but I think I like SimpleRockets 2 more in general. Mr. Foxy, I'm not sure, but I think the most efficient lateral staging is pumping fuel from the side boosters into the central body. You should try it for future rockets. That is actually what I'm doing on this rocket. I don't know if you noticed, Mr. Foxy, but the side stages are the same size as the main stage. They're like exact copies of the main stage, but the side stages ran out of fuel way earlier, and so you're pumping the fuel in from the outside stages, and then you're continuing to burn from those middle stages at almost a full tank of fuel. So that is what I was doing, and it did work a lot in boosting the efficiency of that launch. You get a lot more delta V. You're absolutely right. You get a lot more delta V doing it that way as opposed to just burning them till they're done and then jettisoning the side boosters. Okay, we are on approach. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create another 0 delta V maneuver node right here. Lock it and warp to it. So what that'll do is it pauses me right there. Enter sphere of influence. Ooh, I come really close. Okay. We're going to... Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and enter the sphere of influence. Recenter on my craft. Okay, we are now in Cylero's sphere of influence, and what we can do now is we'll make that adjustment to our approach, and we're going to skim the atmosphere. That's the plan this time. So I think the atmosphere is at its thickest. Well, it's at its thickest at sea level, obviously, but if we get down, let's turn down the sensitivity a little bit here for the final adjustments. I want to get it at about 12 kilometers periapsis for the aero braking. Okay, here we go. Ignite our engines. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Throttle down. We are at 10 kilometers periapsis. I think that'll do us. And like we learned before, let's quick save way out here so we don't get trapped again. Let's also inspect our cargo. Do we have all of our wheels still? Yes, we do. Okay, I think this mission is going to be the big one. So let's time warp forward. I'm going to go ahead and jettison the payload, take control of the payload, and set retrograde. Okay. Here we go. Yep, I quick saved way back at the entrance to the sphere of influence, so we've got lots of wiggle room here. So that won't trip us up this time, hopefully. Ooh, okay. So by jettisoning there, our periapsis dropped to 1 kilometer. I think we're still fine. I think we're still fine though, because that's a lot shallower than our last approach was. Here we go. We are hitting the atmosphere. Ooh, nice and bright. Heat shield is being worn down. Uh-oh. Okay. That's a problem. Our craft has started to tumble, and that will kill it. So what I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna fire the parachute early. Hopefully this works. Stay pointing retrograde. Stay pointing retrograde. What's our heat? What's our heat? Yep, that's taking damage. I think this is gonna blow up. I think it's gonna blow up. Maybe we made it. Maybe we made it. Ooh, okay, so like that solar panel is at 80, 77, 67 damage, 75. So basically, the way part damage works, that almost failed. The way part damage works in this game is, it'll get past a certain temperature. I think 2,500 degrees Celsius is the point where any part that's above that temperature will start taking damage. So the way it works is heat shields, once they get above 2,500 degrees, the heat shield will start to deplete. And heat shield and damage have the same units, so a part will take damage at the same rate that a heat shield depletes. So basically, heat shields are parts that have 2,600 points of health, if we want to take it that way. And every other part only has 100 points of health. So for every second that you're over 2,500 degrees, or whatever the metric is, I can't remember exactly what that metric is, but as long as you're over 2,500 degrees, your part is taking damage. Okay, we can jettison our heat shield now. We are finally slowing down. Boom, I think that did it. I think we're here. 1,500 degrees Celsius? Okay. I will take your word for it that it's 1,500. I think this is a mission success right here. Here's what we're going to do. I might not quick save actually. Let's do a quick inspection. Are all of our parts still attached? They are. Activate my engines. Deploy the landing legs. Can I like look at my parachute here? I'm gonna pin this so that I can destroy the parachute when I need to. Oh, that worked. Okay. Brought the parachute back in, and we are still pointing retrograde. I'll go ahead and get rid of that. Throttle up. Oop, you know what? Didn't decelerate. I should have started my engines earlier. But it is okay, guys, because we quick saved. Honestly, these textures from the current version are very bad with RTX. I like the ones from the previous versions better because it was prettier with less bugs. You know, I'm not sure how I feel about the RTX feature in this new version of the game either. It's definitely got pros and cons. I think it's a good thing in general. They just need to work on it a little bit more and refine it some. Okay, we're going to make one more adjustment to our orbit here. We're going to start a little higher in the atmosphere. Hopefully that will give us some more time to decelerate. And we're going to remember to deploy that parachute early so that we don't burn up like that last time. Okay, let's do this. And take control of this part. Lock retrograde. Let's see, 22 kilometers. That's good. That's where we want to be. And we are pointing the way we want to be pointing. Okay. Here we go. Final descent towards Cylero. Here it comes. 22 kilometers. Here we go. Coming in real quick. 80, 70, I think 35 kilometers is when the atmosphere starts, which we're about to hit. Right. 34 kilometers, 33 kilometers, 31 kilometers. Renzo, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it, dude. Okay. We're going to monitor this a little bit more closely. 21, 20. Oh, you know what? You know what? I don't think we dropped deep enough, because our periapsis is not dropping fast enough. We may skip off the atmosphere here. Yep, I think we're going to skip. Okay, so that was too much. Let's quick load again. We're fine-tuning this approach, guys. The aerobraking maneuver is probably the most complicated one you can do here, because it really, there's no way to know for certain. I kind of wish there was a better way to calculate it. I have no idea how to calculate aerobraking. It is such a complicated process because you have the cross-section of the craft, the air density, and the speed are all parts of, what the hell? What just happened there? Where did the planet go? Okay, I think we encountered another bug. Let's reload that. I don't know what the deal was there. 16, 17. Let's try this again. There we go. Okay, that time it worked. We're going to, I think we're also going to use the last of our fuel here to make one more suicide burn before we hit atmosphere and drop our speed. Right about there. Let's burn. Right there. So we'll shave off some more delta V here. Even harder if you have lifting parts like fins. Yeah, so any lift part is going to impact that as well. It's just, there's actually no way to really calculate it that we know of, like analytically. The best we can do is like computer modeling, and computer modeling is super labor intensive because it's just such a complicated system of intertwining variables that are all changing. It's complicated, and so I'm not going to try and do the math and figure out what altitude I need to set my craft for a proper aero brake. I'm just gonna send it, basically. Okay, we're going to take control, lock retrograde, and final descent. One more time, guys, one more. This is it. This is the moment we waited for. Do the mission of Apollo 11. For me, it's one of the best experiences within the game. Yeah, I think that'd be a fun one to do. I bet there's some pretty good Saturn V and Apollo 11 like replicas on the SimpleRockets site. Oop. Okay, these parts are starting to heat up. Our trajectory is a lot flatter this time. We're going to go ahead and deploy that anyway, though. Okay, that seemed to do the trick. I'm going to activate these engines and start the burn early as well. Try and decelerate as much as possible here. Deploy our landing legs. We should have plenty, we've got plenty of fuel in this stage to decelerate us. So I'm not worried about burning fuel too much. We'll retract the parachute now. I think we can do it under engine power alone at this point. We'll actually throttle down. I think this is it, guys. This is the landing we've been waiting for. 90 meters per second and closing. And we are on our final descent. Let's bring our speed to something reasonable here. 60, 50, 40. Okay, that should be good for now. Oh, I just triggered my sticky keys. Go away. 13. Okay, we are holding at 13 meters per second and very, very slowly dropping down here. I think this is it, guys. Let's go ahead and deploy our antenna. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9. Go away, sticky keys. 3. Oh, bounced. 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 Touchdown! We are on the surface successfully. Nothing is broken for now. I think we're good to go. I'm going to let's retract that for now. I'm going to activate the rover, extend the solar panels. Okay. Let's see. I think we're ready to go. I'm kind of nervous here. I'm kind of nervous to let this thing go. I'm going to quick save again because I feel like this is the part where it's going to get us. It's going to screw us up here. Rover deployed. Take control. Okay. I think we're good. I think we made it. I think we've done it. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. You've gotta be kidding me. Guys, look at the wheels. Look at the wheels. Tell me what you see with these wheels here. Do you see something wrong with these wheels? Oh, come on. After all that. After all that, too. I'm not going to be able to get off of this. You know what? You know what? It's fine. It's fine. I'm just going to count my blessings here. Okay, the rover is free. There we go. Got hung up there. So the axles on the wheels, guys, are canted wrong. You may have noticed. So that's an issue. Yeah, yep. That sucks, doesn't it? All those attempts to fix the wheels the first time, all of that stuff we did, rearranging the suspension, and this is the outcome. Our wheels are off. Oh, but you know what? You know what? Here's the thing, guys. The rover's on the ground. We're on Mars. The lander touched down. We made it. This is a success right here. A half-hearted success, maybe, but this is a success. We've landed our rover here, and that's what it really is all about. So I'm gonna call this a successful mission. We've got our guy. You know what? The wheels are a little cockeyed, but you know what we can do? We can use the power of cheating. Oops. It's fine. It's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I can drive straight forever. No. We're not done yet. I'm going to use the power of cheating. Save location. Save and exit. There should be a graphic displaying the axle direction. Thank you. Yes, there should be a graphic displaying the axle direction. But I'm not going to let that get me down because I have a solution that you guys probably haven't considered yet. I'm going to cheat. And normally I'm opposed to cheating, but I will make an exception for this case because this is somewhat of an extreme situation we found ourselves in. I'm going to just spawn this guy on the surface of Mars properly. We're going to sidestep the whole issue right here. We're going to sidestep this whole issue. Here's our rover. What's up, bro? I'm from Indonesia. Nice to meet you, dude. All the way from Indonesia. What time is it over there? It's got to be early in the morning, I would think. It's 8 p.m. my time, so it's got to be pretty early in the morning for you. Okay, we've got our rover. Oh, wait. hold on. I made a mistake here. I've gotta redo this. End flight. Undo an exit. I made a simple little mistake. The whole reason that we were going to reset, I forgot that I needed to redo the angles on these wheels. Okay, now we're going to launch it. Just 1 second, guys. Let's take a look. I want to relaunch it at our Cylero location. Hey, look at that. It's like it never happened. Right, guys? It's like it never happened. It's like the rover was never broken in the first place. And what would you know, but we can go ahead and drive it all around on the surface of Cylero properly, just fine. Look at that. Look at that. It's like magic. Let's stop it there. Where's our lander? I want to drive back over to the lander. Oop, oop, oop. I should probably stop time warping. $2 a.m. in Germany? Dude, are you up at 2 a.m. right now? Get some sleep, man. Sleep's important. Way more important than you think. Spain, Germany, here we go. You guys are maniacs if you're up at 2 a.m. right now. I don't know how you can do that. Alright. I'm going to set the parking brake. And you know what? I think that's a mission success. I think that's a successful launch. All said and done. So many trials and tribulations to get here. But you know what? We made it to Mars. We've completed our mission. And I think I'm going to leave this stream here. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a pleasure talking to all of you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And for those of you who stuck around for the whole thing, holy cow, I don't know why you're wasting your time. But you know what? Thank you so much anyway. And I will see you guys all in the next video. I'm going to be working on a couple more tutorial videos here in the near future. I want to do one for aerodynamics again, but this time a focus on rockets. You know, the last aerodynamics tutorial I did was a focus on airplanes. This next one I want to focus on rockets. I've got a couple more on my mind that I want to work on in the near future, so keep an eye out for those. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.